everyone, and welcome to the October 21st edition of Hangout for Hope, your spiritual pick-me-up that's just the right amount of time for this moment in time. Tonight's episode is one that, frankly, I am very excited about, and honestly, this is a topic that's near and dear to my heart. Tonight's special guest is a member of Advent ELC and most recently, a kidney donor, Allison O'Neill. And the way that she went about giving the gift of life of her kidney is really neat. It involves an interesting combination of faith and 6 degrees to Kevin Bacon. So it occurs to me that if we're really going to get this, I need to make sure that you understand the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, or Bacon's Law. It's really simple. The game goes off of the theory that any two people on Earth are 6 or fewer acquaintance degrees links apart. Movie buffs challenge this by trying to find the shortest path between an arbitrary actor and the prolific actor, Kevin Bacon. So let's try to play this game with someone we know. Say, me, for instance. I met Patricia Heaton on the sidelines of an Ohio State football game on November 21st, 2015, when we were playing Michigan State. It was actually her first OSU football game, and that may sound surprising to many of you if you knew that she was born and raised in Bay Village, Ohio, which is up on Lake Erie, just east of Avon Lake and west of Cleveland. She actually graduated from The Ohio State University in 1980 with a BA in theater. Heaton also has won 2 Emmy Awards for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Comedy Series for what many of us know her for, Everybody Loves Raymond, back in 2000 and 2001. Oh, and one more fun fact about her. In 1990, she actually auditioned for the role of Elaine on Seinfeld. Anyway, I met her on the sidelines of an Ohio State game, and she was in the movie The New Age in 1994 with Adam West. Adam West was then in the movie Drop Dead Gorgeous in 1999 with Denise Richards. Denise Richards was in the 1998 movie Wild Things with Kevin Bacon. So it looks like I'm a 4th degree Bacon, which, I mean, it's pretty impressive. I hope you're impressed. It didn't even take me 6 degrees. I guess that makes me sizzling. You know, it's fun to play 6 degrees to Kevin Bacon because, honestly, it's fun to connect. Unfortunately, these days, separation has been part of our lives for a while now, due to this pandemic. Tonight's guest and her story is a great example of how life is still going on and how our faith in Christ continues to call us to love God and serve our neighbors, even as degrees of separation bring us together. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my sincere pleasure to bring on our special guest for tonight, Allison O'Neill. So, ladies and gentlemen, today we have Allison O'Neill with us. We are so excited to see you, Allison. Now, how are you feeling, number one?
I'm feeling pretty good. Today is actually day 14 after my surgery, so it's been about 2 weeks, and I'm starting to feel a little normal. Tired, but much more like myself.
Well, that's great to hear. I mean, now you obviously, giving a gift of a kidney, we have to, thanks be to God that we have to. It's important to, obviously, that's part of the Christian faith, is making sure that we take care of the gifts God has given us, and that is our time, ourselves, and our possessions. And ourselves, I don't know about you, but for me, that's the hardest one. I'm like, okay, I'm worrying about the finances. Okay, I'm worrying about creation, but to take care of yourself too. So I'm glad that you're taking this time off. I'm glad you're doing it. So what in the world, can you tell us, like, how did this start? What motivated you to donate a kidney?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's weird because it's something that I have been researching and thinking about for so long that it's almost normalized for me. So a lot of people kind of have an extreme reaction, like, whoa, that's huge. And I almost forget kind of how big the gift it is, because it's something that I'd been planning on for a while. So one of Scott's best friends, who's become my one of my best friends over the last 18 years. He had a kidney transplant about 9 years ago. I mean, it served him well, or I'm sorry, no, about 14 years ago. And it served him really well
Wow.
for 9 years, but it wasn't a perfect match. And it failed. So he went on to dialysis about 7 years ago now. So kind of seeing his struggle and what dialysis even meant. He still worked full time, and he was one of those people who's always positive and never gave up hope. But seeing what he had to do in order to kind of live a normal life and be able to, he wasn't able to travel, he wasn't able to do a lot of things because so much of his world revolved around the dialysis and what he needed to do in order to stay healthy. Seeing that over time, I realized that I thought it was something I wanted to do, but I wanted to make sure that I was, done having children, that chapter was closed, and to make sure it was the right time for me. So it's something a few years back, it's been about 2.5 years ago, that I told Scott, hey, I'm thinking of this, but I'm going to research it and not say anything to anyone for 6 months. But when I come to you in 6 months and say, hey, I'm doing this, I don't want you to think it's a rash decision. And he just kind of laughed because he's like, well, that means your mind's already made up. But he's always a supporter. So I kind of gave him some warning. And then within that 6 months, I researched it, I read up on it, read the studies, statistics, what risk am I doing to myself to kind of weigh that. And in the middle of that time, we saw our big group of friends, and I was sitting there with Damien, who is the person who received one at the end of our chain. And another friend asked him, hey, D, whenever you get your next kidney, because he'd been on the list for a cadaver kidney for some time at that point, what's the first thing you're going to do? And he didn't miss a beat. And he was like, I want to travel and see the Caribbean and see the blue water. And it was so like, absolutely, this is what I'm going to do. And something about like sitting around the kitchen and hearing that is where my perspective shifted. He had no idea that I'd been researching. At that point, I had already sent my blood off for testing for like the first round. And it's like my perspective shifted on, I could give him a kidney. Instead, I could give him the gift of freedom to do, whatever it is that he wanted to do. And as soon as that hit, like I told Scott that night, like, nope, full speed ahead. Like I'm in good enough health to do it, because there's a ton of testing, which is good, obviously, to make sure that you're approved to even be a donor. It's really extensive. I mean, the most medical testing I've ever had done all at one time. But then I looked at that as a blessing, is that I was in great health and that I could give this gift. And even though I wasn't a direct match for him, that meant by donating, they lined us up in a chain. So 6 people donated, and then 6 people got new kidneys. So having that kind of amplified impact, I knew it was something I totally wanted to do.
That is an amazing story. So, I mean, was this friendship? I mean, it sounds like it was a combination of things that was really motivating you. I mean, if you had to quantify, I mean, is it friendship? Is it faith? Is it, oh, it's my husband's best friend, or one of his best friends, and I need to make sure that, for my husband's sake, I mean, like all these things, is that what it is?
It was, yeah. It was a lot of different factors. And I'll be very honest, and I tell Damien all the time, it wasn't just about him. And I say that because the more I researched it and the more I learned about how many people are waiting for kidneys. And I mean, there's over 100,000 people on the waiting list, and people die every day still on the waiting list to get a kidney. And so the more I researched it and the more I kind of did a little soul searching, I'm glad that I could help him, and that, because I love him, and that way he could benefit from it. But it just kind of became I have the ability to give this gift. It's something I want to do. It's something that can collectively help a lot of people. And then that made the decision a lot easier to say, yep, I'm certain. And I made sure I was completely certain before even ushering a word to him, because I didn't want to give any hope if there was any chance I would back out. But ever since I came forward and said, okay, this is happening, I didn't waver in that. And that's something I was scared of. Like, once I got the call that said, hey, surgery in 3 weeks, we got a chain, let's do this, which is amazing. We waited about 17 months on the registry,
Wow.
which is really long. Once
Wow.
people are paired up on the nationwide registry, it's usually only a matter of months because there's so many people listed. But he was a particularly hard match to find. And so out of the blue, when I got the call, I was worried I'd get nervous or cold feet, but that wasn't the case. I was excited. And it seems weird to say in the middle of a pandemic, right? Because that's
Right. What was that
inherently more
like? I mean, with
risky.
all this stuff, that's had to be
Yeah.
crazy.
So in a weird way, I was in the best kind of cardiovascular shape that I've been in years because I've been working from home, I've been working out and going on walks, maybe to get away from the family every now and then. But I was in really great shape because of that. But it did add an extra layer, and it still does now that I'm in recovery. You know, we don't know everything about COVID. Some studies have come out that it's hard on the kidneys and things. So where that impacted me the most was actually visitation in the hospital. Because you're very susceptible, after giving or receiving a kidney, there were no visitors. So Scott couldn't visit me, or the kids couldn't visit me. But the good news was Damien actually had his surgery the day after me. And so we were neighbors on the hospital floor. So although we couldn't have visitors, we could visit each other, which was nice.
That's amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
again, not only you providing, but God saying, you know what, hey, we can't give you your husband, but we'll give you his best friend. How about that? There you go.
Yeah, exactly. So that worked out
I'm
well.
just very curious. Now, you mentioned the word chain and the fact that you weren't an exact match for Damien. So what is that all about?
Yeah, so there is a fantastic kind of evolution that's come out of a lot of research with kidney donations where instead of needing someone who's a family member and a very close match, that the recipient's body will accept it and not reject the organ. If they have someone who's willing to give, but it isn't a perfect match, there's now a nationwide registry with this huge algorithm where they can match up and create chains of donation nationwide. So for example, for ours was pretty lengthy. There were 6 paired people in our chain, so 12 people total.
Wow.
I was actually the first one to kick it off. So they took my left kidney out and it actually went to Atlanta, which hearing about the logistics of travel was my son Jack's favorite part. After, when I was in the hospital and my coordinator kind of gave me a heads up of how the person was doing in Atlanta who received it, and he's doing great.
Yay.
Accepted it. She did tell me that the plane was delayed for about an hour and a half, and so the courier was so nervous because he was already in the OR, like they were getting him prepped and ready to go. So hearing about that was kind of funny. But so my kidney went to Atlanta. He had a loved one who was willing to give that went to, I believe, St. Louis, and then they had someone who was willing to give. And so the rest of the chain I don't know about for privacy reasons. They protect all that. But I do know the 12th and final person is my friend Damien, and his kidney came from California, from a young man out there. So far it's been a great match. He's had 2 checkups in the hospital since receiving his, and it's doing great. And it's, filtering his blood and doing everything a kidney should do. That's
amazing. I mean, to think that the kidney that he got has actually traveled more than he has.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Wow.
Actually, that's something Jack told me. He was kind of jealous that my kidney was going on an airplane because he's never been on an airplane. And he pointed that out to me.
What's up with that? Come on, Mom.
I know.
Right? You're sending your organs on a plane, but not your own son. So,
exactly.
All right. So now you've mentioned Scott, you mentioned Jack. I know we have to mention Maggie because I know she'll want to be on this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So she has been fantastic. Explaining what was happening was a little hard because it's all conceptual, right? Until it happens. But she was so interested, and she actually asked if she could come to watch it all go down, which is so funny. Like, no, they won't let you in to watch the surgery, but she wants to see the incisions and the healing that I'm doing. She's very, very active and curious about it all.
Now, how old is Jack and Maggie?
Maggie's 5. She's in kindergarten. And then Jack, he's 9. He's in 4th grade.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Yeah. So curiosity. So if I got this right, the Jack, our older elementary student, is very interested in the logistics of it all, but Maggie, she wants to see all the gross stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. Right on.
It sounds about right.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, certainly you talked about Scott and having his support. Now, wow, that had to be a big ask for him as well.
Yeah. And he's been amazing, which I knew he would be because he's supportive with, any goal I have or anything going on. But really, I mean, this is him. I'm gone for a few days in the hospital where he couldn't even come visit.
Mm.
It's him taking on the bulk of parenting duties these past 2 weeks. I won't be cleared to drive for another few weeks, and so that's him also being the chauffeur and everything going on. And with schooling from home half the time, I was taking a lot of naps. I still am taking, and so that's him taking the lead on that, and he's just been fantastic. So
That's awesome. That's really awesome.
I mean, it's a team effort, even though I'm the only one who had surgery. It's definitely a team effort.
Yeah. And it sounds like every step of the way. I mean, for Damien, the team that does his dialysis or did it, the surgery team, the transplant team, for you, a transplant team. And then also here, has the church been able to help you at all?
Yes. People have been so supportive, which is just fantastic. Not only, a very tangible way, which Scott is so thankful for, is we've received a lot of meals that people have brought, which is such a tangible way to show love and support, which we appreciate wholeheartedly. Hearing the stories of a few people in the congregation who've either had similar experiences or who have had loved ones who have experiences with dialysis or having a nephrectomy for a variety of reasons, that's always helpful to hear that people have been in a similar situation and how they managed through it. It's just been an outpouring of support. And I will say, I really do like sharing the story of this because not only I know that it is a big gift and it's a big thing to do, but I don't think I'm that unique. And I think there's a lot of people who might just not know the ins and the outs of this, that maybe it's something that they or a loved one of theirs might be interested in someday. I actually have a friend named Anna who a few years ago, she's a mom of 3, and she had heard a podcast first, and she read a bunch of things about organ donation, and she just kind of felt called to do it. And so she actually didn't have anyone who needed one. So she's someone who's called an altruistic donor, which is just a level all above itself of saying, I'm going to donate a kidney and it's going to go to someone I'll never meet. And that's totally fine because I have another coat to give, if you will. And that was really inspiring to me. And so that's why I kind of wanted to share my story, because you never know who might have questions in the future, who might say, hey, this is something I could do and that I want to do. Because it feels a little selfish to say it's fulfilling for me, but it really is. So.
Well, in doing a good deed, I mean, that's one of the things I would say that's an affirmation, rather than a motivation. It's an affirmation that, hey, you're doing this for the right reasons. I know, just to add another story, I think I've shared with many people, my mom had received 3 kidney transplants over my growing up. And it's interesting. And she had received them from relatives because that's the way it was. But to see her when she had her first kidney transplant when I was around 2 years old, and she wasn't allowed to be around anyone for like 6 months because of that rejection issue that you were talking about with your friend, right? And so he's still in the hospital even now. Is that right? No, he's out.
No, he's out.
Okay.
He actually got out just a few days after I did.
Oh, nice.
But he's very much in a controlled environment because even under the best of conditions, I mean, his immune system, they wipe it out basically to prevent the body from rejecting the organ. So that makes him highly susceptible to getting anything, yet alone in the middle of a pandemic. So
right. Well, and that's the thing. I guess the reason I talk about my mom is the fact that that first kidney didn't last very long. The second kidney that she got so it was my uncle and then my aunt, her brother and sister. That one did last a little longer, but not much. But then the last one from my cousin, because there is some age limits and I was too young to be tested. And my dad was not a match. So for my cousin to give one to her, it actually ended up lasting her, I mean, until she passed away 20 some odd years later. So the technology and the medical know-how has really evolved. And it sounds like the donor process also has evolved.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And so has the surgical techniques. I mean, I was out, so my surgery was on a Wednesday morning, bright and early, very early, and I was discharged Friday morning.
Wow.
Yeah, and so not only has the medication and the anti-rejection process really evolved, but also the algorithms to find these people and who could be a great match to build the longest chains possible, to impact the most people, because it's really, you have a finite amount of resources of kidneys, and a lot of people need them. So
Absolutely. Well, I will say in 2018, I was looking up articles, getting ready for our talk today, and I found this, and it says right now, which was back in 2018, the longest kidney chain transplant chain. That's really actually difficult to say. Right now, the longest kidney transplant chain in the world completed was 88 people
isn't that
in
wild?
one thing. It's crazy. And I
Yeah.
mean, it's mind blowing to me to say that you were the first domino to fall in the link of 12. I mean, and not to be honest, to be completely honest, because I am a pastor,
Yeah.
12 does happen to show up in the Bible a few times. So, I mean, that had to be reassuring.
Exactly. Yeah, it's pretty cool to see how kind of a few years of research of, yes, this is something I want to do, to actually see it realized, and knowing, like, for HIPAA reasons, they can't give you all the information, and I don't really want to know all the information, but
Mhm.
no, they give you status updates that everyone, it sounds like, is doing well on it, and it's kind of amazing. But it's also daunting to realize how many people need it and how prevalent end-stage renal disease is, and that it's growing. So hopefully technology grows with it too, that, who knows, maybe in the next 30, 40 years, you won't even need to do this. There might be something else. And that's one of the things I considered too, of recognizing, if I give one away, hey, I only have one left. But a lot of the studies have shown, if you're healthy enough to pass the test to give, the odds of, ending up in end-stage renal failure are lower. And if you do, you kind of get moved up toward the top of the list to get a donor kidney from someone else someday. So that helped alleviate a lot of my worries there.
Oh, that's a great thing to know that I'm not sure many people would know about. But
Yeah.
it's been amazing to hear your story. And as soon as I saw it on Facebook, as soon as we talked, I have to tell you, there was a Bible verse that popped in my head, and it's John 15:13. And it said, there is no greater love than this, than to lay down one's life for one's friends. And I immediately thought of, again, what you were talking about. And then I love your reference also to, if you've got a coat to give it. And this truly is the gift of life. As someone who has seen up close and personal someone on dialysis, it's a daunting thing. And that gift of life and freedom, not only do we all get that from Christ, but in a very tangible and real way also, you get to do it through organ donation. So is there anyone that we should contact if someone's interested in more information? Obviously, talking to you would be a great way. We're right here in the congregation. But is there any organizations or anything that you could help us with?
Yeah. Come to me, because I'm happy to share my story, even the parts that aren't all rosy or everything else. The National Kidney Registry has a fantastic website with a lot of research and studies and just what the process looks like. So that's a great place to start. But yeah, I'm happy to share any resources or any information that I have too.
All right. Well, Allison O'Neill, thank you so much for being on Hangout for Hope tonight. Thank you for your gift of life and for being a shining example of Christ's love at work in the world.
Oh, I'm happy to join. Thank you.
See ya.
Bye.
Well, that's it for us tonight for Hangout for Hope. I hope that you are as inspired as I am from Allison's gift and story. Remember, Bible study is every Thursday night on Zoom, and it's open to everyone, again, every Thursday night from 7 to 8 p.m. And worship this week will be in person and online, as always, at 10:30. But there is a special thing since it is Reformation. We invite you to come to our parking lot so we can sing loud as we can, of course, that wonderful Reformation song written by Martin Luther, A Mighty Fortress. All the details and links that you need are easy to find at adventelc.org. So until we meet again, I'm Pastor Aaron Lane, reminding you to take care and to give care in the name of the one from whom all blessings flow. Have a wonderful rest of your week.